Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Good evening. Ni hao. I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. There is really quite a galaxy of celebrities here. Former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien, many ministers of the cabinet, members of parliament, distinguished business people. I do want to, though, begin by giving a special thank you to my introducer, and that is the Honorable Lawrence Cannon. Since Lawrence joined our team in a senior position in 2005, he has made an incredible difference to what we've done, and he is doing a terrific job as Minister of Foreign Affairs. So please, everybody, give him a big hand. And a special thank you to the Canada-China Business Council for hosting tonight's dinner, at which we mark and celebrate this year's 40th anniversary of formal diplomatic relations between our two countries. Let me also take this opportunity to tell you that the work you are doing to foster closer commercial relations between China and Canada is important, and it is appreciated. Monsieur le Président Hu, je suis très heureux de vous accueillir de nouveau au Canada et aussi de faire preuve de la même hospitalité que celle que vous m'avez témoignée dans votre pays en décembre dernier. President Hu, it's a great pleasure to welcome you back to Canada. Lorene and I are pleased to have this opportunity to return your generous hospitality during our visit to China last December. The fond memories of that visit will remain fresh in our minds for a long time to come. I know we will never forget our first steps along the Great Wall and our tour of the Forbidden City, true wonders of the world. Mr. President, the friendship tree that you planted at Rideau Hall has been healthy and growing since your first visit to our country nearly 5 years ago. It is a living and visible symbol of the goodwill between our two great countries. I'm also delighted to report that the Canada Pavilion at Shanghai's Expo 2010 has already hosted more than 1 million visitors. Canada is lucky to have Mark Roswell as our Expo Commissioner General. Go ahead, give him a big hand. Mark is, of course, best known in China as the TV star Dashan, probably, we say, the best-known Canadian in the world. Et la semaine prochaine, au 1er juillet, lorsqu'on célébrera la fête du Canada à l'Expo 2010, Dashan accompagnera notre gouverneur général, son Excellence Michael Jean, dans le cadre de sa visite d'une semaine en Chine. The Governor General's historic visit to China, only days after your visit here, Mr. President, is another reminder of the friendly and productive engagement of our two countries. À titre d'exemple, nous prenons note de la décision d'ouvrir un nouveau consulat général de la Chine à Montréal, à l'attribution au Canada du statut de destination approuvée, enfin, à la mise en place de nouveaux bureaux commerciaux canadiens à divers endroits en Chine. We've seen, for example, the decision to open a new Chinese consulate general in Montreal, the opening of new Canadian trade offices across China, and, of course, the granting of approved destination status for Canada. All this should lead to increased travel by tourists, students, and business people between our countries, as President Hu and I discussed today. In December in Beijing, President Hu and I witnessed important agreements on climate change, mineral resources, culture, and agricultural education. Today, we have gone further, signing more agreements related to increased bilateral cooperation on tourism, environmental protection, energy conservation, and law enforcement. Meanwhile, numerous agreements signed by Canadian and Chinese firms are examples of growing close commercial cooperation. I'm particularly pleased to announce that China has granted staged access to Canadian beef This welcome announcement is extremely important to our industry. De plus, des représentants canadiens et chinois discutent à l'heure actuelle de la meilleure façon de prêter un couple de pandas géants collectivement à des zoos canadiens. On top of all that, Canadian and Chinese officials are now in discussions to facilitate the loan of a pair of giant pandas to be shared among Canadian zoos. The growing strategic partnership between China and Canada mirrors our burgeoning trade relations. After years of healthy growth, China is now Canada's second largest merchandise trading partner. Durant ma visite en décembre, j'ai pu constater que la croissance stupéfiante de l'économie chinoise était partout apparente. Mais la Chine, comme le Canada, ne peut se maintenir dans l'isolement. Le moteur économique chinois a besoin d'être alimenté. During my December visit, China's stunning economic growth was apparent everywhere. But China, like Canada, cannot sustain itself in isolation. China's economic engine needs fuel, resources to power and supply its factories, food to feed its workers. Canada has an abundance of natural and agricultural resources to share with China, and our Asia-Pacific gateway will, in the years to come, be the fastest way to ship goods between North America and Asia. Of course, while Canada is a global energy superpower, in a world concerned about climate change, we must also be a clean energy superpower. That's why our government is investing in green energy technologies. Therefore, we have this also to offer. Les technologies canadiennes peuvent contribuer à réduire l'impact sur l'environnement de la croissance rapide de la Chine. Il y a encore de nombreux domaines où nous pouvons aller plus loin dans nos longues relations commerciales. Canadian technologies can help reduce environmental impacts associated with China's rapid growth. Even as we look to the future, however, there is still room to build on our long-standing trade relationships in other areas. Agriculture, for instance. Almost a decade before our countries established formal diplomatic relations in 1970, then Prime Minister John Diefenbaker launched the so-called Icebreaker Initiative to supply Canadian grain to a China then struggling to feed its people. High-quality Canadian agricultural products remain an important source of safe, nutritious food for Canadian consumers. For example, Canada is still China's best option for canola, and we trust the recent decision to extend the interim agreement on seed imports is a prelude to further and fully reopening the Chinese market. Autrement dit, go ahead. Autrement dit, le Canada et la Chine ont des économies complémentaires et nous sommes loin d'avoir réalisé toutes les possibilités de nos relations. In other words, Canada and China have complementary economies, and we have yet to realize the potential of our relationship. The completion of a foreign investment promotion and protection agreement would be a helpful step forward. It would give investors from both sides the clarity and confidence required for two-way investment to continue to grow. Et la décision de la Chine d'assouplir son taux de change est de bon augure pour l'équilibre et la stabilité non seulement de nos relations commerciales, mais aussi de toute l'économie mondiale. And China's recent decision to enhance the flexibility of your exchange rate, President Hu, augurs well for balance and stability, not just in our trade relations, but in the entire global economy. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue and carry forward the momentum and goodwill generated by our bilateral discussions and agreements today into the G20 summit this weekend, where together we can demonstrate the wisdom of keeping our markets open and seeking new ways to expand trade. I also look forward to working with President Hu as the G20 seeks a new consensus on regulation of the international financial sector. Le Canada et la Chine cherchent tous deux à jouer un rôle de chef de file plus important dans le monde. Là encore, nous pouvons être des partenaires stratégiques efficaces. Dans le monde d'aujourd'hui, le leadership se conquiert moins par les armes que par le pouvoir économique brut et que par l'autorité morale dont sont investis les pays respectueux des valeurs universelles de la liberté, de la démocratie, des droits de la personne et de la primauté du droit. La Chine et le Canada ont entamé un dialogue franc et respectueux sur ces valeurs. Le poursuivre nous rapprochera en tant qu'amis et partenaires. Canada and China are both seeking larger leadership roles in the world. Here also, we can be effective strategic partners. Canada believes that in today's world, leadership flows increasingly not from a stockpile of arms, but from the stockpile of economic power and from the stockpile of moral authority a nation builds up when it upholds the universal values of freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. China and Canada have begun a frank and respectful dialogue about these values. Continuing it will bring us closer together as friends and strategic partners. And it will strengthen our ability to work together in pursuit of global economic stability, a cleaner, safer environment, improved health and security in the developing world, and effective international action against terrorists and rogue states. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know well, the most fervent supporters of closer Canada-China relations are the more than 1 million Canadians of Chinese descent. Les Canadiens d'origine chinoise sont le pont stable sur lequel notre amitié s'est érigée. And through organizations like the Canada-China Business Council, they will help shape our destiny as partners and as friends. President Hu, I want to thank you once again for accepting our invitation to visit Canada. Our mutual respect grows with every encounter, as do our shared aspirations for stronger Canada-China relations in a better, safer, and stronger world. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Shei shei.